You mentioned the eyesight, but what are some other myths?
Let's see. Well, of course, the bats get in your hair. Everybody thinks that bats are going to get in their hair. And one thing that's really cool about that echolocation is it's really, really sensitive. Bats could actually echolocate one strand of human hair. So it's really unlikely that bats are going to get into your hair, although I guess, it's probably has happened if they're flying along, and you probably are more likely to get in their way than they are to get in your hair. They're going to suck your blood. We talked about the vampires a little bit, that bats are dirty and diseased. Bats are actually really, really clean. They're constantly grooming themselves, kind of like cats, and they groom each other and they groom their babies, so they're actually really clean. And bats can be a rabies vector, so it's really important to never handle a bat. But the incidence of rabies in bats is actually really low. It's about 1/2 of 1% of all bats have rabies. Unlike other animals that have similar incidence of rabies. So here in the US, those are things like skunks, foxes, raccoons, possums, similar. You're probably not likely to go out in your backyard and pick up a raccoon that's behaving oddly. But if you saw a bat in your house, you might pick it up. And of course, we're a lot bigger than bats. They see us as a threat. If you handle a bat, it's likely to bite you because that's one of its defense mechanisms. So it's really important not to handle bats. Like I said, the incidence of rabies is very low, but you don't ever want to handle a bat just in case. Bats come out at night. They feed at night. Some bats come out a little bit before it gets fully dark, twilight. And there are a couple bat species that'll actually start hunting in the late afternoon. So it might still be light out and you could see, for example, eastern red bats are one that come out and they have a beautiful red color. So if you see a bat flying around in the late afternoon and it's reddish in color, that's probably a red bat. Other than that, bats in the summertime often have colonies in human structures. We have built a lot of buildings in places that used to have trees and natural habitat for bats. And bats have actually adapted to that pretty well, some species. So for example, little brown bats and big brown bats are two species of bats here in the eastern US that commonly use human structures in the summertime. So you may see bats underneath your deck or in the slats in your shutters on your windows, underneath your roof line. And in the summertime, those are often either bats that are day roosting. They go out and hunt at night, and they may come back and sort of hang out under your deck. Or in barns and buildings in particular, we get maternity colonies. So in the summertime, bats and their pups, baby bats are called pups, actually the females get together in a group and they have what's called a maternity colony. So the mother bats and the baby bats will all be together in one location. That helps keep those baby bats warm when the mamas are out hunting, and then they come back and stay with the babies in the daytime, sleep in the maternity colonies in the daytime. So you may be seeing bats in the late afternoon and evening in the summertime, and you may see some bats around your house, and those are bats that are adapted to humans being in what used to be their natural habitat.
And if you see them in your yard, is there any danger?
No, I think it's kind of exciting. I think actually a lot of people enjoy seeing bats flying. They're really agile flyers. They're really fun to watch because they turn on a dime. They're just really cool to watch how they fly. So I think a lot of people actually really enjoy seeing bats. And if you, like I said before, if you see a bat on the ground, don't ever pick it up. Don't handle it because it probably will bite you in self-defense. If you have a bat in your house, the first thing that I always tell people to do is, if you can, try to close the door to the room it's in and open a window. Bats will find their way out if they can. A lot of times bats that are in your house in the summertime, they may be juveniles. They're just learning how to fly. They may not be that great at it, so it might take them a little bit of time.
Do bats hibernate in the winter?
Here in North America, we basically have three different types of bats. We have bats that hibernate, we have bats that migrate, and then we have fruit bats that live sort of in the desert southwest area of the U.S. and down into South America. So here in the Northeast, we have the migrating and the hibernating bats. So once it gets really cold, there aren't any insects for the bats to eat. So they have two choices. And some species of bats migrate like birds. They'll fly south for the winter, find a place that there are insects active and that they can feed. The other types of bats, and here in the Northeast we have 6 species of bats that hibernate. They use hibernation as a survival strategy through winter. So they spend the fall getting fattened up on insects. They go into a cave or mine where they're going to hibernate, and they go into a state of very reduced metabolic rate. Their heartbeat slows way down, their breathing slows way down, all of their body systems slow way down. And that allows them to conserve that fat and survive through the winter. Some bats go into hibernation in as early as October, and some bats will stay hibernating into months as late as April. So different species are hibernating at different times, but in general, all 6 of those species here in the Northeast will be hibernating mostly, between November and March is when most of the bats will be hibernating. We do have 3 species that migrate, and those guys all head south for the winter where they can find food.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.